All right, this demo is going to be about how to create a path model in AMOS and then run it and look at the results. So we're going to get right into it. I'm using the same data that we talked about in the lab. So first off, so I have AMOS graphics open, and I'm going to select the data to open. So once I click on that icon, I select where that file is, and then I hit OK. So when it appears on top here, it means that this file has been loaded. So I hit OK, and then I want to create that model. So I'm going to go to this icon here to list my variables, and then push them or click and move them to the white area here. So I'm going to start with combat exposure. So I'm going to click on it and keep the click, keep holding the click and move it to the white area. Then I have PTSD symptoms. I have a burdensome and belongingness, suicide risk, which is my DV, and capability. So once I have all of these in here, I want to edit the names of these variables or the description of these variables. So I'm going to go double click and then change this box here. This is what appears on the variable name. If I delete the whole thing, it automatically picks up the variable name. Now remember, do not edit variable name because this is how AMOS knows which variable it needs to grab data from your data file. So if you change the variable name, it's not going to know and it's going to get confused. So I'm just going to delete the variable label itself, so it just picks up on the capability variable name. Same goes for here. I just want to delete the whole thing. I could potentially add something here, but for now, I am just going to keep it the way it is. So now I want to resize these boxes because these are really big. I'm going to click on the change the shape of the objects, click and hold, and then drag. So this is basically going to resize the shape of the variable box for me. So once I'm happy with what it looks like, I'm going to move these around in terms of exactly where I want them. So this kind of truck or a train icon, click on this, and then I can move things around. So I'm just gonna put them the way I want it to make it prettier or nicer or in a way that I want to depict my model. So once I have them in place, I am going to click on the path, draw path one, and then just draw all the paths that I want. So you can look at the directions in the lab notes in terms of what paths we are drawing here. So I'm just going to continue doing that until I have all the paths that I need. So once I have that information, what I'm going to do is draw the latent variables and click here, add a unique variable, and click on each of the variables that you want to draw error or disturbance to it. Now once you do that, you notice that these are blanks, so you cannot run your analysis just with blank variables, so you would have to define a variable name, and if you don't do that, it's not going to run your analysis for you. So for you to be able to do that, I'm going to uncheck this box and then double click and then name it. Since this is my first disturbance, I would call it E1. This is my second one, so I'm just going to double click it again and call it E2. This is my third one, E3, and then this is my fourth one, so E4. So once I have all of these and all my paths are drawn, I'm ready to run my analysis. Now remember that before you do that, you have to do a couple things. First, you need to specify some analysis that we want to run, because by default it doesn't run the standardized estimates, for example, for us, and it does not specify the means and intercepts. So we're going to go to analysis properties, and we want estimates and mean intercepts on the estimation, and then under the output tab we want standardized estimates, and we also want direct, indirect, and total effects. And if you have data with no missing values, you can also click the modification indices, which basically tells you what paths you can draw to your data to improve the model fit. So I'm going to do that because my data doesn't have holes in it. So once I do that, I just click cross because it doesn't have the save or OK button on all of the menus. So just that, basically when I close it, it's going to save it. Now I'm ready to run my analysis, but I want to save this path also. So I'm going to save it on the desktop for now. I want to call it my model 1 and save it. So once I have it saved, I can run my analysis by clicking the calculate estimates option here. So you see it flickering and some menus appearing. It shows us that it has ran the analysis. Now we can look at what the path looks like, what the estimates look like by clicking on the view the output path diagram, and basically gives you all the numbers related to these paths. Now these are by default unstandardized, or the B related to each of the paths, and it's also showing means and intercepts. If you click on the standardized estimates, this is where it tells you the standardized estimates here. Now you can print this model, and I encourage you to print this screen. Either you can save it as PDF or you can print it on your printer, but save this because this is going to be a reminder of what kind of model you ran. Obviously you can save this as well as a soft copy, but if you don't have AMOS on your personal computer, you won't be open that file. So you can copy this, you can save this. I think there's an option to print. So I can print my default model, either standardized or with unstandardized estimates. I suggest the standardized estimates because for most of the path model analysis we are reporting standardized estimates. So you can print it that way. So that being said, when you look at the paths, I mean, it gives you the weights, but you're not able to tell if whether they're significant or not. So you'll have to look into the output it gives you. So to go to the output, you will go to the view text, and another window will open with a bunch of tabs on this side and then detail on this side. Few things you'd be interested in: analysis, not analysis summary, but notes for group, because it gives you the sample size. This is a new option. In the lab I was telling you that it might not give you the sample size, but with the new version of AMOS I've noticed that it does give you that. So you would need the sample size from here. You would need the estimates or the paths from the estimates portion. So let's look at it really quickly. So this basically gives you all the paths that we have drawn and the B values associated with it, and standard error, which you're reporting as well, and also the P value. So all the asterisks actually here means that it is below 0.001. So if you click on this as well, it tells you what it means. If I click on the estimate, it tells me that it is talking about B values. But as I said, we want to report the beta. So betas or the standardized regression weights are in the table below here. So for example, if I click on this one, this is telling me the relationship in terms of the standard deviation increase. So you will report the betas from here, but the p-values associated with it are the same, which you will take from here. If you are asked to report the paths to disturbances, this is the variance table that you would actually report from. So these are the values you are reporting. And then at the bottom, since we had asked for the total and direct and indirect effects, these are the tables that are providing us that information. For example, total effects of combat exposure on capability. I guess that's, yeah, the total effect of combat exposure on capability is this. Total effect of combat exposure on PTSD is this. Since most of the time when you talk about total direct and indirect effect, we're talking in terms of the final DV we have, which is suicide risk. So we can look at this row here, that combat exposure's total effect on suicide risk is this, capabilities total effect is this.